We'll ask, as always, that you identify your name and outlet prior to doing so. But with that, I will turn it over to Coach Swinney for his introductory remarks.
All right, thanks, Ross. Well, we're always excited when this day comes around, and today was another great day for us. Christmas is next Friday, but really kind of came early for us. Signing 18 new Tigers in a week where we're going to see 16 current Tigers graduate today and tomorrow. Super proud of our graduates, and as we head into postseason this Saturday, I believe we've got 23 graduates on the roster. A couple of those already have their master's degrees as well, and so that's one side of it. When you see guys all the way back in high school, and they come and they grow and they transform, and now they're leaving as graduates, and then you get this side of it where you have this great just energy and new guys that have chosen to come be a part of your program. I mean, it just never gets old seeing a young man choose Clemson, especially nowadays, where our program is, where our brand is. We have a national brand. We can recruit all over the country, from California to Texas to, Florida, Ohio, you name it, all the way to, we've signed kids up in Connecticut and so forth. But this year, I think we had 9 states represented in this class. But these are 18 guys that really could have gone anywhere they wanted to go. And the fact that they chose to come to Clemson, believe in who we are as people, believe in the philosophy, the culture of our program. I'm just very grateful for that. And that's also a credit to the young men that are here because they're the ones who live it every day, and they're the ones who, they're our greatest ambassadors. So just a great day, and I was laughing earlier today. All of our signing classes are special. They really are. But I'll never forget my first class, February of '09, the Dandy Dozen, and I'll never forget this class ever. The Pandemic Posse is what I've called them, because this is the most unique recruiting class that we've had to sign, and the most unique recruiting experience that any of us have had. And you talk about a great group of young people, a great group of young leaders. That's who this group is, and can't wait to get started with them in person. A couple of them I haven't even had a chance to meet in person, which is the most 2020 thing ever in our world here at Clemson. So, super excited about them. 11 guys on offense, 7 guys on defense. Coach V was feeling a little charitable this year. He let the offense have a few more Scallies, but it's an exciting group. It's a group that brings power, speed, athleticism, high character, and great leadership qualities. And one of the also really cool things about this class is they're all winners. These guys have won. The great majority of these guys have won state championships, or they've competed for them, and coming from programs that have great cultures, and they're well coached. And I know they're going to bring that stuff with them. So, really excited about this group, and again, celebrating our graduates this week. And looking at the breakdown, we signed 2 quarterbacks, 2 running backs, 3 receivers, 1 tight end, and 3 offensive linemen on the offensive side. And over on the defensive side, signed 2 D-ends, 1 D-tackle, 1 linebacker, 2 safeties, and 1 corner. And so great class for us. Probably have a walk-on or 2 that'll probably get added to the group somewhere along the way. And but again, really appreciate these families and these young men for choosing Clemson, and very thankful for our staff. It's an enormous amount of work every year that goes into the recruiting process, but this year, in all that we couldn't do, we had to figure out what we could do, and the job of our recruiting staff is amazing, and everybody in this entire organization pulling together to put our best foot forward to still be able to convey who we are at Clemson and what we're all about, and secure a great class. So with that, I'll take your questions.
Hey, Coach, it's Trevor Rose from CUTigers.com. You have a couple of guys who will be playing both football and baseball for you in Will and Bubba. You've done that before at a high success rate, of course, with Kyle Parker as a starting quarterback. I'm guessing that will help you kind of navigate the time sharing, if you will, of those guys.
Yeah, we've done that with other sports. Obviously everybody remembers C.J. Spiller and Jacoby Ford. They were track All-Americans, I think, 4 years as well. So balancing spring practice around their track schedule. And Nuke Hopkins, his first year or so, he was a basketball player as well. A lot of people don't remember that. So we've had different guys, that we've had to manage. Buck Holtz was a soccer player. We had to kind of coordinate around his schedule as well. So we've got a good feel for how you have to manage that, and I'm excited about Bubba, and I'm excited about Will Taylor, and happy for Coach Lee because he's got, obviously those guys are on football scholarships, so that frees up more money for our baseball team, because he's got two elite baseball players that are on football scholarships. So I'm excited about it. I look forward to, managing that process, and both of those guys will be guys that certainly can help the baseball team. And the good thing is, again, the sports are different seasons. When we're we'll work around spring practice and manage that the best we can. But they'll be in season with baseball, and certainly we'll do everything we can to help that and help them be very successful in that role. And then football season, they have to take it upon themselves to stay sharp, whether it be getting in the cage, throwing, fielding, whatever it is. But that's what you have to do. But here's the good news for Will Taylor and Bubba Chandler. That's their norm. That's what they've always done. So it's not anything out of the norm for them, and they'll have plenty of time to do that. The way things are structured in college, they'll have plenty of opportunity to be ready to transition to baseball, once our season is over. But two talented guys. He might be the fastest guy on the team when he gets here on the baseball team, and one of the fastest on this football team. And Bubba will have probably one of the biggest arms, and as he likes to always remind me, he's a really good hitter too. So two good ones, and it'll be fun to watch them, mature and develop into their careers.
Coach Joe Gorcho, WIS-TV in Columbia. Just following up on Will real quick. What is it about his skill set that impresses you, knowing he got the Clemson offer for baseball first, but then you take a look at him, you're like, wow, this guy can also fit well with our team too. So what was it about Will that you felt like, hey, we got to get you on our side too?
Well, he's a winner, number one, high character kid. But it goes back to a couple years ago in camp. He came in here, he was maybe a rising 10th grader, or maybe he was a rising junior. But he came into camp here, and I wanted to see him. I wanted to see him how he would, he was working quarterback, and I mean he's dynamic as a quarterback. It doesn't take long to realize that he can make the throws, he can create, he can do it all. He's not quite as big as you would like in a quarterback, but there's a lot of guys that aren't quite as big as you'd hope that are great players at that position. But I really wanted to kind of just see him as a receiver. And so we took him in a practice in camp, and I put him over at wideout, and we just kind of wanted to see kind of how natural it was. And it took about 2 minutes. First of all, he can fly. He can flat out run. His acceleration makes him special. His ability to accelerate vertically, but also his lateral quickness, He is, and then he's got great ball skills, very natural ball skills. Very confident kid, and just a ball player. I mean, so the big thing for me in watching him continue to play quarterback was realizing that he legitimately could play quarterback for us and win for us. I think his long-term future is playing receiver, and I could be wrong about that, but we'll see. But that's kind of our plan. But in this world we're in now, and transfers and things like that, the quarterback position, we got in a bind a couple of years ago, and we had to take Hunter Renfro, who played high school quarterback, but he had been trained as a receiver since he got here, and we had to kind of go back to some basics with him to get him ready to be an emergency quarterback for us that year. And I've kind of had Will in my mind for a while. We're going to train him as a quarterback. We expect him to move to wideout, and I really do think that he's got a chance to be elite as a receiver and really special. But it might be 3 years from now, and he's been a great wideout for a couple years, but he will always have the foundation of quarterback, because we're gonna take him this first year, and we're gonna really teach him, as a quarterback, and then the plan is to move him. But again, he'll always have that foundation in play, and so we're really excited about what he brings to the table. We think he's a guy that's going to have a great career here. He can be a returner. He can do a lot of things, but the fact that he's a winner, he's a great kid, he's a great student. Coach Knotts, and coming from the program he's coming from, the competitiveness, multi-sport guy, excels at a high level in multi-sports. We love those type of guys, and we think he'll be a great fit for us.
Hey, Dabo, this is Anna with Clemson 24/7. Do you have a player comparison, either someone you've coached or maybe someone in college or in the NFL for Will Shipley?
Not really. Not that I've coached. I think probably the only kid that, jumps out is maybe the McCaffrey kid up there in Carolina. I mean, he's similar to that in that he's powerful, he's fast, he's dynamic, he can play slot, he can catch the ball in the backfield. There's really nothing he can't do. He's a very, very dynamic guy, and he's big. He's got this rare combination of size and speed and athleticism. But I haven't had a guy like him at that size. With all those intangibles, to this point. So he's pretty unique.
Hey, Coach, it's Trevor again. Your wide receiver depth was really tested this year, probably for the first time since 2010 when Nuke was a freshman. But seems like you've really reinforced that position today.
Yeah, no doubt. I said that earlier today on our show. If you'd have told us back in, I was messing with Grisham, first year wideout coach. If you'd have told us back in the spring that we weren't going to have Ross, Ngata, or Ladson for pretty much the whole year, Grisham might have resigned. But yet, somehow we've thrown for more yards than any team we've had. Cornell and Amari, what they've done is really amazing. There's really only two other schools that have multiple guys with 670-plus yards receiving, like Cornell and Amari. So just really proud of the job Grish has done. I'm proud of that room, the guys that have stepped up, the development, and what we've been able to do. Because it has been frustrating because those are Ladson, Ngata, and Ross are not good players. They're elite players that bring a lot to the table, and not having them has been a challenge from a depth standpoint. But our guys have made it work, and Grish has done a great job. And but these three guys coming in here are very polished, very, very polished players. They're really not raw. All three of them well coached. We've had these guys in camp, and we've had a chance to really get to know him well over the last couple years here, and they do some different things. The Collins twins, the twin Collin Towers there. Those guys are big men, but they can change direction. They got great body control. Again, they're very polished. Have both been very well coached. Dakari's playing for a semifinal in the semifinals of the state championship this week. Bo won a state championship last year. They didn't get to play this year. Troy's playing for a state championship tomorrow. They've just been well coached. They're in great systems that have used their talents very well and have helped them develop. So these are three great ones to come in here and join a already really good room. And so hopefully next year we'll be back to having the elite type of depth that we've been known for around here, and I don't have any doubt that'll be the case.
Hey, Dabo, it's Anna again. I think you caught some of us in the recruiting industry maybe a little by surprise when you guys listed Barrett Carter as a safety, just because we've had him ranked as a linebacker. I know you can play kind of all over the field, especially in that Isaiah Simmons role. Just kind of how do you guys envision using him, just because he is so versatile and dynamic? Yeah,
kind of what you said. I mean, we're going to use him in a versatile way. He's not a guy you can kind of put in a box there. He absolutely can play linebacker. There's no question about that. But we think he could play either safety. We think he could play nickel Sam. I mean, he is as dynamic a guy as we've signed. And if you just watch him and what he's done offensively as well, I mean, he's fast. He's got the size and the physicality to play in the box, but he's got the speed and coverage ability and range to play on the back end. So, he's just a guy that I think you can list him whatever you want to call him. I don't think he's any of those things individually. I think collectively he's a football player, and he's a guy that in today's world of offensive football and people spreading people out and 12 personnel, 11 personnel, 10 personnel, multiple personnel groupings, and those type of things. He's a guy that can play any down. He can play in any package against any personnel that an offense puts on the field. He's physical enough to hold up against any 12 personnel type of attack. He's fast enough and athletic and rangy enough to play against a 10 personnel team. There's really nothing he can't do. So I think, again, just his versatility, it's hard to just kind of pencil him in. He's one of those guys we'll figure out, like an Isaiah Simmons. We'll figure him out as we go, but you'll see him do a lot of different things throughout his career.
Dabo, this is Grace with The Athletic. You mentioned just because of the pandemic, guys you haven't met, guys who haven't been on campus. What was it like recruiting Andrew Makuba?
Oh, it was great recruiting Andrew. I mean, he's such a sweet kid. He's got such a great demeanor. It was different because it wasn't his fault, and he's always liked Clemson. And for me, I was just a little hesitant early because he's all the way out in Texas and he hadn't had a chance to get here because he really tried to commit earlier, and we loved him. But I hadn't fully embraced 2020 at that point. I guess is the best way for me to say that, because I kept thinking they were going to open things up a little bit and allow maybe prospects to come in, and where we could visit with them. But that obviously never transpired, and then they ended up canceling all of recruiting. I mean, it's still dead all the way till April, because we kept thinking, okay, he was going to come to camp. No, couldn't do that. And come to the cookout, couldn't do that. And then it was all right, well, surely he'll be able to come to a game, couldn't do that. Hey, we'll come in on a official visit, couldn't do that. And so it just kind of kept going. But we just had lots of great talks. Obviously our ability to communicate is just, it's crazy how the world has changed. And knew exactly what he wanted to do. And once they canceled and made it dead for the rest of the fall, I said, well, okay, let's go ahead and do it here. And he was ready. And so super excited when he committed to us. He's the same thing. He's different than Barrett, but he's same in the regard that he's dynamic. And the same thing, you look at him play offense. I mean, he can do it all. But he is got corner cover type skills and the physicality of a safety. Has a bright future. I mean, we really, the three young men we got in the secondary, we hit a home run with these guys. I mean, I just think that they bring a lot to the table. All seven. We only signed 7 defensive guys, but these are 7 dudes right here for sure that fit great needs and bring a lot of great skills and intangibles to our defense.
Hey, Coach, long slide. It may be a little early to ask this, but looking at the way recruiting is now, you just mentioned the dead period continuing. How does that shape up for the future in your mind, just kind of moving forward with the next class? Because a lot of those guys maybe haven't had a chance to be at Clemson. And then secondly, kind of in addition to that, you talked about Dietrich Pennington and his ability to move and play at the tackle spot, you thought, on the offensive side of the ball. How do you evaluate that moving forward if you don't get to go see these guys in person?
Yeah, it's a challenge, and so hopefully it slows recruiting down, to be honest with you. I hope that's a positive. I'm always trying to pump the brakes anyway. I'm always trying to slow it down. Everything gets sped up, and I'm kind of the opposite. I'm trying to, I love evaluating seniors, to be honest with you, because this is a developmental game. And so I think that, anybody that we offer early in that 22 class, we know that we know that we know that we know. That's kind of how where we are right now in our evaluation of those guys. We don't offer many guys anyway, and I think it'll probably be a even smaller number early in the 22 class until we can get back out, and hopefully we'll be able to do that in the spring and get back out and start doing some in-person evaluation and having camps and things like that. But we'll see how all that goes. But just we have to do a great job, evaluating and really trying to do everything we would do in person virtually in our communication. And once we decide, who fits the criteria that we're looking for, really do a great job of bringing them to Clemson, even though they may not physically be able to be here right away. And but yeah, it's a challenge. Because, again, being able to identify a guy like Dietrich Pennington in camp, Will Shipley, he's a guy I think we saw first time in like the 9th grade. Same thing with Maffa. We've had lots of these guys, tons of these guys have been in our camp. Davis Allen is a guy on our team right now. We know what kind of player he is, but Davis Allen was more of a defensive player. And he came to camp, and we were able to really kind of evaluate him the way we wanted to as a tight end, and that helped us pull the trigger there. So, it's tough, but hopefully, the worst is behind us, and with the vaccine coming out and things like that, hopefully we can get back to some normalcy here, later on this year or next year.
Hey, Coach, this is Trevor again. How many guys do you expect to enroll in January, and are there any that are kind of on the fence?
We think 12 or 13 guys will be mid-years, which is always exciting when you have guys that are here early. That's fun, but I don't really. It's really not that big a deal to me. I don't discourage it, and I don't encourage it. To be honest with you, I just want guys to do whatever they want to do. I know I wouldn't have come early because I played 3 sports. There was no way I was going to miss basketball or baseball. It was just that wasn't going to happen. So, but it's different times, and some of these kids, that's what they want to do. So I definitely don't discourage it. But again, I don't encourage it either. I want it to be their decision, and we'll support them whatever they want to do. But I anticipate 12 or 13 guys, coming in January.
Dabo, this is Matt. Was Andrew the only player you didn't meet? And what was it like recruiting, I guess, guys that you've never met before? How do you build those relationships?
Yeah, it was unique. As I said, pandemic posse. Never forget it. Never forget this class. It was unique experience. But no, I never met. I say I've never met. I feel like I've met them. It's crazy how you can communicate now. You just sit here and have a conversation with somebody. I can't see y'all, but anyway, when we're doing FaceTime and Zoom and all that, it's like you're sitting in the room together. So we've done virtual tours all over this campus and our building, everything about our organization. Everything that we would do if a guy showed up on campus. Literally recruiting itineraries, all the way, kind of a virtual visit. So we've done virtual visits. So, and then that leads to questions and conversations and all that stuff. So that's how, you develop the relationships. But we've probably had more, to be honest with you, we've probably had more time to communicate than maybe we normally do when we know people are coming in person. So, it's been great. It's been unique, but no, I have yet to, physically meet Makuba. I have yet to physically meet Bubba. And I've seen Nate, but I haven't physically met him yet. But I have seen him when I went by his school, but haven't had a chance to physically meet him.
Hey, Dabo, it's Josh from the Post-Courier. Now with Ryan, you have players 2 years in a row from Damascus, Maryland. I know Damascus is kind of similar to Clemson, that it's a small town where football is really big. How much does the similarities in kind of the area help you in recruiting in a part of the country where maybe you wouldn't traditionally go looking for recruits?
Yeah, we just go wherever the great players are, regardless of the area. And I think certainly when you have some success, you go back when there's other good players. Getting Brian Brzee last year allowed us to evaluate Linthicum, and kind of get a head start there. Obviously, there's a relationship there. So, the fact that Damascus is a football area, football town. That we love recruiting guys that come from places that win and take football seriously. So Phil Maffa is another guy. Mickey Kahn's known Phil Maffa since I think he started coaching him when he was 7 years old, and then there's that relationship there. So you have some situations where there's long-term relationships in place, and then you have others where, you meet them a little later in the process. But definitely great to get back up to Damascus and get Ryan, and again, a guy that I feel like we've been recruiting a long time because he was kind of always in the picture with Brian because they played basketball together. He came down here a lot when we were recruiting Brian, so he's a great fit for us.
Coach, being a guy myself who's from the Philadelphia area, I have to ask, what do you love about Jeremiah Trotter's skill set and what he can bring to the Clemson Tigers?
Yeah, well, first of all, same thing, coming from a winning program, back-to-back state championships, well coached up there, and, he's coming from a school where you really have to be committed. It's not easy to get there, it's uniforms, it's a whole thing, you got to be really committed. And I think that shows his discipline that he has. So first thing is his character, who he is. This is a great young man, but from a football standpoint, he's what you're looking for in a linebacker. He's got a really high football IQ, especially at this stage. And again, he's been well coached, and then obviously his father played a long time for the Eagles and All-Pro and all that stuff. He's been around the game. He's seen it at the highest level. But he's just very instinctive, really understands offensive football from a defensive perspective, and he's fast, he's physical, and really nothing he can't do. And we're going to take one linebacker, one true linebacker in this class, and he was a pretty easy decision for us.
Hey, Dabo, this is Will. Just curious for you, how crazy of a week is this for you to have National Signing Day, graduation tomorrow, and then obviously you're playing for an ACC championship all the same week?
Well, it would have been a lot crazier if we weren't off last week. So it's not as crazy as you would think. I mean, it's a little different than my normal working man Wednesday, but again, we've had an off week, so we're way further along on a typical Wednesday than what we would normally be around here. But it's just kind of our norm. I love it. I love the fact that regardless of usually when the signing day falls, we're in bowl prep right now. So it's different that we are actually playing a game on Saturday, but again, had an open date, and these guys have been committed for a long time, and we've had plenty of opportunity to prepare. So it was just exciting to really formalize, everything today.
Coach, tight end is such a difficult position to learn in your offense. Will Brennan Stool be one of those mid-years, and do you expect him to come in and compete with those great tight ends you already have for playing time?
Yeah, I think he is going to be a mid-year, and absolutely we expect him to compete. We expect every one of these guys to come in and compete without a doubt. We think all these guys have the ability to compete with everybody here, and he's same thing, just going to take one tight end, signee in this class, and we have the ability with our brand and our past success to attract a lot of interest, and at least be able to have a conversation with the best of the best out there. And but this was the guy, man. This was the guy for us, and we're thankful that we were the program for him. He's a great player. I mean, a lot of people have him as the best player in the state of Tennessee. He's easily one of the best tight ends in the country. But he's long, he's dynamic, he can do it all. I mean, he's got toughness. His dad was a great player at Michigan State. So it's a hard position to play, but it's an even harder position to recruit because it's not often that you can find guys that bring everything to the table that you need at that position. And we've had some years where we've kind of had to piece it together. Some guys were good at this, others were good at that. But when you can get a guy like a couple of these guys that we have already on the roster that really have the ability to not just be good but excel at all areas of tight end play, those guys are hard to find. And but we think Jake, is definitely that.
Yeah, but this is Matt again. Has the thought process changed at all for you guys as far as the transfer portal? And is that something y'all might explore? Have you had any thoughts on that?
It hasn't changed to this point. I mean, again, certainly reserve the right to have to change that. I mean, unfortunately, there will probably come a day if things, keep going down the path that they are. But, we love to recruit high school kids and develop those guys. But, if things change and you have guys that, because now other people can just recruit your roster. And I don't think that's a good thing, but it is what it is. I'm not getting into all that, but if and I don't see it as an issue right now, but all of a sudden you have guys that pack up and leave, whether it be after the season or after spring practice or whatever, and maybe you've got and you didn't anticipate that, and maybe you have some glaring needs, then you may have to consider it, but. I hope not. I hope we can continue to stay the course on how we've done things. But if we have to adjust, then you just have to make the adjustments. But even if you did that, our process wouldn't change. Our criteria wouldn't change. We'd still be looking for the same things that we look for now.
Hey Dabo, it's Anna again. Just based on his athleticism and basketball background, is Zaire Patterson one of the more, I guess, bigger upside guys that you've ever had?
I think he and Cade are both in that category. Cade, man, he's a blossoming guy. Got a motor that you can't coach. Long, both those guys are long. But Zaire, transitioning to football, kind of full time, if you will, and giving up the hoop dreams and realizing, he's going to have a lot more opportunity putting his hand in the dirt, and then him buying into that. And quarantine's been good for him. He is physically, he was, I think the first time we saw him, he may have been about 205 pounds or something like that, and now he's about 240 plus there. And I mean, big time athlete, fast, twitchy, long. Both of those guys, I think we hit a home run when it comes to, their upside and their potential of what they can be, here at Clemson.
We've got time for about two more.
Sorry.
Go ahead, Matt.
I was going to say, you mentioned the injuries with Frank and Joe that they've been dealing with all year. Do you know if those guys, I know Tony said it was probably unlikely on Joe, but do you know if those guys will be back?
Yeah, Frank's been able to practice, so we're feeling better about him. Joe's making a lot of progress. He definitely won't be back this week, but we're hopeful, after this game, he'll be ready for what comes next.
I was going to ask something similar just on the injury front, because Zanders and Booth missed the last game. How are they looking?
Progressing well, and we definitely, feel good about where they are.